What's up, guys? My name's Brandon, and this year Apple introduced 3 brand new watches. So we have the Series 8, the SE, and the Ultra. And since the Ultra is coming later, we're going to be taking a look at the Series 8 in both 41 and 45 millimeters, as well as the SE in 41 millimeters. And we're going to be comparing all of these watches to help you determine which one is the better buy. All right, so we're going to set the SE off to the side, and we're going to start with the Series 8. Now this year, there's no more green or blue for the aluminum model of Series 8, so we have Midnight, Starlight, Silver, and Product Red. And if you want to go stainless steel, we have Graphite, Silver, and Gold. And as you can see on the back here, we have the 41 millimeter in Silver and the 45 millimeter in Midnight. So let's start with the 41 millimeter, and we have the really cool origami style packaging like usual for the Apple Watch. And when you open it up, you get the cool graphics in here of all the different colorful Apple Watches. Now, as far as the watch band I went with this year, I got the Sport Loop, and this one is called the Storm Blue Sport Loop. So this was kind of different, so I figured I'd give this one a try. And then here is the box for the actual Apple Watch itself. So we're going to set this box over to the side. Now, as far as pricing for the 41 millimeters, it's $399, and if you want to get the 45 millimeter, that is $429. Now, if you want the stainless steel, those prices start at $700. And on top of all that, you could also add cellular for an additional $100 for the aluminum or the stainless steel. All right, so let's unbox the 41 millimeter. So we have the same pull tabs as we do on the iPhones. Let's take this top off right here. And we can see we have our Designed by Apple in California pamphlet right here. And then right underneath that, we do have our USB-C charging cable, and inside this pamphlet we just have our getting started guide and no Apple stickers. So let's go ahead and pull the watch out. So we have our biodegradable material here holding in the Apple Watch Series 8, and you can see it says 41 millimeters on the back. Let's go ahead and take that out of there, and here is what the Starlight color looks like. It's a very silver looking color, and my first impressions are that it just looks like a Series 7 watch, but it says Series 8 on the back this time, so pretty much identical in terms of overall design. Now let's go ahead and put on the Storm Blue Sport Loop and then get into the 45 millimeter. So there we go, I got the 41 millimeter on my wrist. Let's go ahead and attach it. It's like a little Velcro, and it feels really good on the wrist. 41 millimeters is a little bit too small for me personally, but I will go ahead and check out the 45 millimeters to see if it looks better on my wrist, or if I just need to go for the 49 millimeter Ultra, which is coming later. All right, so here is the 45 millimeter, and I got this in the Midnight, so we'll be able to see a difference in the Midnight and the Starlight. Should be a pretty big difference. And then we also did get the Nike watch band right here. So I got the Nike Sport Loop. So this is the Game Royal and Midnight Navy Nike Sport Loop. So I decided to go blue for some reason this year, but I just wanted to switch it up from all the black and white that I normally get. So as you can see here, this is the Series 8 in 45 millimeter, and this is also the GPS aluminum, and this one is in Midnight. So I didn't go cellular this year. I usually go cellular, but I decided not to just because I didn't find myself using it very often. So let's go ahead and take these peel tabs off and see how this 45 compares to the 41. Let's take the top off right here, and you can see we have a black biodegradable cover over the Apple Watch this time because we do have a darker color of Apple Watch. So Apple decided to match it up right there, and you can also see it says 45 millimeters on the back. So here is the 45 millimeter, and here's how that compares to the 41. So yeah, pretty big difference. Let me go ahead and put this Nike Sport Loop on so we can see it on the wrist. And you'll notice on this band, we do have some little minor Nike branding on there as well. So you can see it shows Apple Watch, and it shows the Nike right next to it. You'll also notice that it does say, "Just do it." That is Nike's slogan. You will see it on the band. It's very hard to see unless you look at it in light, but it is pretty cool. So here's how the 45 and the 41 millimeter look on the wrist. And of course we do have Midnight and Starlight. You can kind of see the contrast in the two there. So that is what they look like with the different bands. And I will compare the SE to these two as well in a minute, but I did want to talk a little bit more about the Series 8. So we do have the same display size, the bezel and everything looks the same as the Series 7. Now we do have the S8 chip this year. So it does have the same CPU as the Series 7 that was found in the Series 7 watch, but we just have added support for the new sensors. And the sensors that are on the Series 8 this year are the optical heart sensor, the ECG sensor, the blood oxygen sensor, and also new this year is the body temperature sensor. And actually there are 2 temperature sensors on the Series 8. So there's one on the back crystal near your skin and another one just under the display. So this is going to allow you to kind of see how your body temperature changes throughout the day or night. and especially when you sleep, it will notice that if you do wear your Apple Watch to sleep. It will also allow for cycle tracking with retrospective ovulation estimates and more, but you can't just check your current body temperature whenever you want, unfortunately. It's just for detecting changes in your temperature. The Series 8 also has a more powerful gyroscope and high dynamic range accelerometer, both of which aid in the new crash detection feature, which will call emergency services if it detects that you've been in a car crash. And before we get into the setup and talk a little bit more about the Series 8, I do want to compare it to the Apple Watch SE. So let's go ahead and unbox the SE. Now you will notice that the Apple Watch branding is black on the SE, whereas it's just white. You can't really see it on the Series 8, which I feel like that's kind of backwards. I think this looks cooler, but here is the SE. I did get this in the 44 millimeters, so they do have it in 40 and 44 millimeters, which is the same as the previous generation SE. But the overall unboxing experience is pretty much the same. So you can see when we open it up there, we do have a very similar experience. Now the band I got for this one is a little bit different as well. So this is the Solo Loop, which is in beige braided. So it's the braided beige version of the Solo Loop. It's the first time I've ever gotten this, so I will be curious to see how that looks on the wrist, especially with this Starlight SE. And this one is also GPS. Now with the SE, it's only $50 more for the cellular version. So if you're gonna get cellular, you'd probably wanna do it on the SE because it is half the price to go up to cellular. So let's go ahead and take these peel tabs off. And by the way, the price for the SE is $249. So a good bit cheaper than the Series 8, especially if you decide to get cellular or stainless steel for that Series 8. So let's go ahead and take the top off right here. You can see the packaging is a little bit different, especially the cover that goes over the Apple Watch itself. So it's just some little paper right here. And here is the SE. Let's go ahead and take this off. And just at first glance, you will notice that the SE looks the same as the Series 8 on the front, but on the back, it is a little bit different. So we do have a plastic backing instead of ceramic. And just for comparison, here is the previous generation SE on the left. Here is the new one on the right. So it looks a little bit cheaper this year. I'm not too sure why. So we don't have the premium feel on the back. This year, it's more of just like a plastic on the back, and the sensor also feels a little bit cheaper than the first generation SE. So here's what the SE looks like on the wrist compared to the Series 8 and 41 and 45 millimeters. Now, the main difference on the front, when you just look at the display itself, is going to be the always on display. So the Series 8 has an always on display, whereas the SE does not. You also do not get the blood oxygen or ECG capabilities, along with the new temperature sensing capabilities. So all of those are limited to the Series 8 watch. So you do miss out on some of the health benefits for the SE, but that's pretty much it. I mean, we have the same chipset, same battery life. You know, you do still have a lot of the high and low heart rate notifications. You have the irregular rhythm notifications. You have your cardio fitness notifications. You have your crash detection. That is also in the SE. You have pretty much everything else on the SE. And that's why I think this is such a great value if you don't really care as much about the in-depth health sensors like the ECG, blood oxygen, and temperature sensing. If you don't use that a lot, the SE is probably going to be the one for you. So here's what the 45 millimeter Series 8 looks like next to the 44 millimeter SE. So we're going to set up these two. So it's asking if we want to make this my new Apple Watch, and we're going to transfer everything over. You can customize those settings or just go with the default. We're just going to continue. So it's asking us if we want to create a passcode. I'll just create a simple passcode. We did get some haptic feedback here on our Apple Watch because it is asking us to input a passcode. I'm just going to put zeros right here, and we're going to use that code even if it is able to be easily guessed. And then it asks you to personalize your fitness and health. So it should already be pre-registered in there with the data you have in the health application. If not, you can input it right there. Let's tap on continue. We get a prompt about safety. So this tells us about emergency SOS, crash detection, and backtrack. Let's go ahead and tap on continue. And then we get the prompt for Apple Pay. So if you want to set up Apple Pay to easily pay from your wrist without having to pull out your phone, you can set that up right there. I'm going to set that up later though. And then it will say your Apple Watch is syncing, and it's going to transfer over all of your applications, all of your health data, and everything like that. And you can see the progress happening here on my wrist. It's already almost halfway done. And then now is a good time to open up my watchOS 9 video where I show you more than 25 new features in watchOS 9, which is the software that comes on the Series 8 and the SE. So if you want to see everything new in terms of software on these watches, which is really where most of the changes come from, you can check that video out now. It's up in the cards and also linked down in the description below. And then you might get this prompt right here that says update your Apple Watch. You definitely want to go ahead and update if you do get that prompt. And then it says says welcome to Apple Watch, tap on continue, and it takes you to this page right here where you can change all of your settings. All right, so there we go. Both are fully set up now, and you can see the SE versus the Series 8. Again, 44 millimeters versus 45. Actually a pretty big difference. I mean, you think 1 millimeter is not going to be a big difference, but I really like the size of the 45. Now again, we do have the always on display on the Series 8, but not on the SE. So you will notice that the SE goes dark, whereas the Series 8 stays on. It just dims down a little bit so it doesn't drain battery, which is nice. And then when you pull it up, it gets a little bit brighter and you can see everything on your watch face here. Now I did want to briefly go in here and check out the new health features for the Series 8. So if we go into our health application and then to browse and then to body measurements, you will see down here we have our base body temperature and body temperature. And if you go in there, you will see the graphs. And of course, it tells you a little bit about this and what you can kind of detect when you have body temperature tracking. Now it does take some time to, pick up on what your base temperature is. So it does take 5 days to have a base temperature reading so it knows what your normal temperature is, so it can be able to tell when your temperature changes. And then we also have ECG right here as well, which is also only for the Series 8. But overall, the SE is going to be very similar to the Series 8 aside from those few things. So I think if you want an Apple Watch for tracking your steps, your sleep, your heart rate, and just having a cheap entry into the Apple Watch world, the SE is definitely the right choice at only $249, or add an additional $50 if you want that cellular version. I think that the Apple Watch Series 8 is only for those who are not going to be spending up for the Apple Watch Ultra, for those who are actually going to use and benefit from the new sensors this year, or for those who just have a larger budget for an Apple Watch and prefer the premium materials like on the back. But other than that, I think the SE is the way to go this year, especially if you have a Series 6 or Series 7. I think if you're going to upgrade, you may as well go to the Ultra or the SE. The Series 8 is not going to be a big difference if you have either a Series 6 or 7. So there you have it. That is the Apple Watch SE and the Apple Watch Series 8. Stay tuned for longer term comparisons and reviews on both of these watches, along with Apple Watch Ultra coverage, which is coming very soon. And if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate if you gave it a thumbs up. Also, make sure to subscribe for more of these Apple Watch videos. But anyways, guys, thanks again for watching, and I'll see you soon.